Looping in a new friend of show, a new friend of program, now the new home, one of the new homes of the Florida Panthers, who are on their quest for a three-peat. We'd like to welcome in star defenseman for the Florida Panthers, who's acquired in the midpoint of last year, was a part of their Stanley Cup run this past year, and we're pleased to have him on. Seth Jones joins us. Seth, welcome in. How you doing today? What's going on?
I'm doing great, doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. How was your weekend? Did you have an entertaining weekend?
I sure did. Some bumps and bruises, but we're all good. We're ready to go.
Was it a lot, Seth? All right, Seth, I'm curious because let's get right into it. Lightning over the weekend, preseason bout. I mean, a record amount of players, 16 players ejected. It's the preseason, so I guess you can get away with it. You had guys fighting left and right. Give us a little bit of a man on the ground, boots on the ground situation. What went down over the weekend against the Lightning?
Honestly, I'm going to take the words out of Paul's mouth. It's just two old friends getting reacquainted this year. We're just two teams trying to get ready for the season. Obviously, some things happened in the playoffs last year, but I think we're all good now, and we're ready to go for the season.
And Seth, the Florida teams have really dominated representing, the Eastern Conference in that Stanley Cup. Just how, after getting inserted into that rivalry back in February, those are just two teams. You guys are just two teams that just don't like each other. Am I right on that?
I think we can all agree on that, especially after what transpired this weekend. I was definitely didn't realize, from the outside looking in, you're on a different team. You don't understand the intensity of the rivalry. And then, when you're put into it, even in a regular season game after, when I got here, you can just feel the game is a little bit different. The pregame, the way the guys are getting ready feels much more like a playoff game, a playoff atmosphere. We have met in the first round a few times in a row now. So there's definitely history there. Guys, you just naturally develop a competitiveness and a hatred for the guy across from you.
And does the team almost feel better in the locker room after you vent out all the frustrations you said from over the playoffs, whether it be on the hit on Barkov or whatever it might have been? You sort of vent out these frustrations preseason. Does everybody, both parties, just sort of move on with their lives after that?
I guess we'll find out, right? I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule that far ahead, but I don't know if you need to tune in. Who knows?
Seth, when you mentioned it, when you were acquired in the midpoint season, you were sort of thrusted into this Florida Panther, dynasty, so to speak. At this point, you weren't there for the first two Stanley Cup runs, at least to the final. Tell us a little bit about once you got there from Chicago. There was an obvious interest on your end to be involved with a contender. You got to one, and you sort of are thrust into this middle of this dynasty. Tell us a little bit about once you got there. How easy was it to acclimate with a bunch of guys who are in the quest of repeating where you're going for the first one on your personal end?
Yeah, it was very easy. When it just came to being at the rink, seeing how the guys operated, seeing how they, even going to the finals the last 2 years, losing one and winning one, you still saw how hungry they were every single day in practice, mid-season, how competitive they were, their will to get better, from the top down, from the coaching staff all the way to the players. And so when I got here, it's easy to really slot in, and you're just told to do your job at the end of the day. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the best at what I brought to the table and for this team. And when it came to the system, completely different system from a lot of really a lot of West Coast teams. The defense are made to gap up a little bit more here, and the forwards come back and track harder. So there's different systematic things that I struggle with maybe in the first couple of weeks, but did a lot of video with the coaches here, watched, obviously game reps are the best practice for that kind of thing. And so when it came playoff time, I was ready to go.
Seth, it sounds like the culture is really one of the big reasons, the team has been able to be successful. And it's not surprising because, Coach Paul, 25 years of NHL experience before coming to the Panthers, obviously the two Stanley Cups. I know you described a little bit there, but what's different about the Panthers and the way they do things from other stops you've been in the NHL?
Yeah, I can only speak for, say I'm coming from Chicago. I think it's a little bit more based on development. And so you're going to get teams that are a little bit more development based and not in that winning window, and then teams that are in that winning window. And so here in Florida, there's no development. You bring your game to the table, you do the system, and that's it. And if you don't do the system, you're probably not going to play. And that's that's told to you right from the very start, at least when I got here. But that's how everyone plays the game. Everyone plays hard. Everyone plays direct. And there's a certain style that we believe is winning style. And we believe that we play the best game that way. And so everyone's on the same page. There's not a guy that's trying to do his own thing, and that means a lot, especially in playoff time.
Seth Jones, defenseman, Florida Panthers, with us now on ESPN 106.3. Seth, going into now the quest to win 3 in a row if you're the Florida Panthers, you guys have a short offseason because you made that run into the postseason last year. You have a shorter offseason. You got to get back into the flow of things. You also don't want to you don't want to relish too much on what has happened, and now you sort of have to reset a little bit, especially with the injuries that the team have dealt with, Barkov and so to speak. Tell us a little bit about how you guys have reset. What has Paul Maurice told the guys? What have you guys said internally about, hey, understanding that we have an opportunity to go for 3, we have an opportunity to make history, but also we got to also start from completely square one?
Yeah, I think that was reiterated first day of training camp this year. Nothing is given in this league, and you got to earn it every single year, regardless of what happened the year before. And of course, the injuries now. We lost some key players offensively. Barkey, one of the best two-way centers, and Matthew is brings a certain culture and a certain style to our play on the ice. And so, I think everyone has to get 10-15% better this year. Try to fill in those gaps as best we can, and be even harder, be even better. So, 16 teams make the playoffs every year. Like I said, nothing's given to you. We're gonna have to earn that spot regardless of where we finish, and earn a trip to the big dance. So, we have the ring ceremony tonight, the banner raising tomorrow before the game, and I think that kind of closes the chapter on of last year, and really puts us in a position to focus on for what's to come.
Seth, speaking of this year, what's kind of been your main vocal point of what you want to improve on heading into the season?
I think just being consistent with my game. I think the first thing that a defenseman always has to think about is the defensive game, defensive side of the puck, keeping a good gap to the neutral zone, not making it easy on guys, being physical. I think playing with Mikkola, he's a great, big, rangy skating defenseman who's physical, has really helped my game. He pushed me to be better and to skate and stay alongside him. And then offensively, I mean, move the puck on the power play well, shoot the puck, be aggressive, just the little things that I think go a long way when it comes to a long season.
And Seth, you've had a fascinating career, and I'm more fascinated about the upbringing because obviously your father, Ronald Popeye Jones, played in the NBA. He was a all around the league, played an 11-year career and you and Caleb, your brother, went on to become professional hockey players. Not every day do you see a professional sort of getting the kids involved in a separate sport and then rising all the way through the ranks to the professional level. Tell us a little bit about how that started for you, because not only your kids growing up on the road following the professional side of things, but you didn't want to get on the hardwood. You wanted to get on the ice. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, growing up in Colorado, my dad finished with the Nuggets, and then we kind of settled down there. Avalanche were a very good team before the salary cap era. They were loaded. They probably have 10 Hall of Famers from those 1999 to '01, that range in there. And so was able to be at Game 7 when they won the Stanley Cup against the Devils. An unbelievable experience. I'm 6, 7 years old seeing that. And I'm sure it's very similar to the way youth hockey is growing here in Florida now with us winning the Cups. That's how it was in Denver back in the early 2000s. And so I was kind of caught in that mix of every kid in school wanted to play hockey. Every kid wanted to be Joe Sakic, wanted to be Hayduk or Peter Forsberg. And then Patrick Waugh was on that team. So there was just so many players and professional athletes to look up to on the hockey side of things that I was kind of caught in that. And so me and my brothers all started playing at the same time and really never looked back. I love basketball. I love watching it. I love playing pickup. I just never played organized.
Now, Seth, do you have a favorite moment of Dad being an NBA player growing up? Do you have like a game or a moment remembering Dad playing in the NBA?
Favorite moment? There was a highlight. Well, he played with Michael Jordan with the Wizards. One of when Jordan came back for a year or two, I think. So that was pretty cool. He has a pair of Michael Jordan shoes actually that are signed, and I've been trying to get them off him, but he's not giving them to me.
That's the
Uh,
last thing. Yeah, that's going to stay in the office
yeah,
for
yeah.
there.
I gotta work him some more. Um, but yeah, so that was pretty cool to see that. And then, um, I think just when I was old enough, I was like 10 to 12 years old. He was coaching the Mavericks. So I saw, Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Kidd and a lot of these guys when I was at a young age, how they worked. You see them playing the games and see how hard they work, but you don't see behind the scenes. You don't see there's no days off. There may be 2 days off a week during the season, or sorry, a month in the season. You're traveling. And so me seeing that at that age really helped me understand what it was and what it would take to be a professional athlete. And so I'm not sure if I would be here today, along with Caleb, my younger brother. We'd still be playing professional sports.
And one thing about your father's career is he played in a number of different spots. You mentioned the Wizards, you mentioned Dallas, you mentioned Denver. Jumping around on the road like that, I mean, that's an interesting way to grow up because are you bouncing around with him every single time, even if it's a year stop? How did you handle that growing up?
Yeah, so a lot of it happened when I was really young. So I think I lived in Toronto when I was 1 year old. Don't even remember that. Boston for maybe a year or two when I was really young. So there's a lot of it happened early. And then when he got traded to Denver is where he said, let's just settle down here. We love the city. We loved the mountains. And so that's where I was for about 8 years. And then ended up moving back to Texas when I was about 11 years old, 10 or 11. So finished my youth hockey career there. Went to U.S. program at 15. And was never home after that.
Said the mint. I gotta ask because I do it myself. But you ski? You ever ski growing up in Colorado?
As a kid, I did.
Okay.
And then when you get into hockey or
Yeah.
sports,
They
you
say
don't want to
no.
Yeah.
mess your
You
knees
don't
up and
want to do
stuff.
it.
So
Yeah. Now
they
off.
tell you to stay away from skiing. That's the last thing you should do is ski.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
boats, no
I had to
bikes, none of that.
ask. I
No,
had to ask.
yeah,
I
no mountain biking, nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. It's a very.
That's an outdoorsy
It
place.
is. I
It
was about to
is.
say it's
It
an
is.
active state, Seth.
Good
I have an
golf courses in the mountains.
Yeah.
My
I'll do
mom's
that
sister.
now.
She grew up. I grew up visiting them in Vail, so I do all that stuff
I
out
love
there.
that.
But when did you know you could be a professional hockey player? Like I like asking professional athletes this. Was there a time in your youth career or wherever you meant, hey, I'm a little better than everyone else, and maybe I could really make a living doing this?
Yeah, I think it was probably right before. Um, I think it's happened so early now, but when I was 13 or 14, I want to say agents started popping up and scouts around the rink and things like that. Colleges start coming to you, which is kind of crazy at age 13 because you don't know what you want at that age. But that's kind of when you start to realize that, there's only a few kids that are talking to a team and you kind of get put in that group. And then, you go to the U40 camp or the US program when you're 15 and made that team. And you it kind of just happens. There's not really like one certain point where you realize it, but when you go to the US program is when it really all starts to take shape. International hockey starts coming into play. NHL scouts start talking to you and your agent. So it's just the little things like that happen along the path.
And the growth getting into hockey, you got to go through the youth programs, you got to play in the smaller leagues and everything like growing up. It's different than the usual circuit. Not everybody needs to play collegiately. Not everybody needs to do the different route. But tell me a little bit about that route comparatively to what I guess on the basketball side of things. It's completely different in age. I know it's changed a little bit, but
Mhm.
give us a little bit of insight of what it takes really to work your way up to the highest level of the NHL.
Yeah, I think in other sports, it's just you go high school. You play at home, you play high school, you play college, and you go to the professionals. And I think in hockey, there's so many different avenues. 3 Canadian hockey leagues. You can go to Europe like Austin Matthews did and come back. You can go to college. Now you can start switching whenever you want. So it's crazy now. But there was only two ways that I could do it then. And so growing up, my parents were very pro college, get a degree, do the 4 years. Um, and I toured a few schools my senior year of high school. And then WHL kind of came about, Canadian Hockey League. My goal was to play 1 year and go to the NHL. That was my goal. So I thought, 1 year of college may not be worth it for me. So I went to 1 year to Portland Winterhawks in the WHL, and then got drafted by Nashville and played that first year. So it all worked out for me. but every kid's, I would never tell a kid to do that, right? Every path is different. There are late bloomers, there are kids that are ready to go at 18 or 19. So just all depends on the situation.
And Seth, segueing back to the Panthers a little bit, you mentioned home opener coming about just in about a day, the ring ceremony, all the glitz and glamour that comes with winning a Stanley Cup is sort of coming and going in the next 2 days. Tell me a little bit about what your favorite memory was from this summer, from the offseason of celebrating this Stanley Cup victory, and what you're most looking forward to next year.
Oh man, that's tough. I will probably say the week after we won, just all the partying, being around the guys, celebrating.
Down
The
here,
parade
too.
was awesome.
Down
The
here,
par-
too.
yeah,
This place is adequately suited for a Stanley
yeah,
Cup celebration, if I may say
right.
so myself.
Um, the parade was awesome. 400, 500,000 people there on the beach, going down the A1A. It was just a beautiful sight to see. Just sharing that cup with the city, the fans, the people who had our backs, and so that was really the highlight for me is being a part of that. You always see it when other teams win, videos and all that, but being a part of it was something special.
And to build on that a little bit, I think the one thing that has happened, at least in this area, because of the resurgence of what the Florida Panthers have been, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, is hockey is really starting to make its footprint here in South Florida. And I think you got a sense of that, when Tampa Bay was really good, Tampa Bay sort of had a similar situation. But with these great organizations, hockey is very good at making a regional presence felt for the sport itself. Tell me a little bit about what you've noticed about coming to Florida from places like Chicago, Columbus, who have now started to really embrace the greatness of not only the Florida Panthers, but of the sport of hockey itself. Have you noticed anything specific about South Florida generally?
I have. I think when I was drafted, so 2013, and to see where it's came from there is such a dramatic difference, such a dramatic change, and obviously the new ownership and things like that, and the team getting better has helped. But um, it's a tough building to come in and play now. When I was in Chicago the last 4 years, 3 years, you did not want to come play Florida. You were getting banged, you were getting bruised up, you were getting hit, and so it was going to be a tough night. And then the crowd's loud, everyone's in your ear. It's just a tough game to play. So being on the other side of it's obviously much better. And so you understand that teams, they understand, they know it's going to be a tough night when they come and play at our building there in Sunrise, and so that's something that we use to our advantage.
Seth, you talked about it earlier in the interview, how, last year's in the past, we're focusing on this year. You got the home opener coming up. What's Coach Paul telling you guys in that locker room? What's the main thing right now as you guys gear up to, hopefully three-peat here in South Florida?
Well, it's a new year, new beginnings, new challenges. That's really the message. And like I'll go back to, we lost, our number one center, and we lost, Matt. And so everyone's got to really try to fill that void this year. There can't be any, stretch of games where we're not, at the top of our mental, shape really, and taking lapses mentally. So we know Bob's going to be big in net. We know we have a system, and we're going to play that system the best we can. But I think consistency is going to be the main thing for us this year, and trying to get as many points as we possibly can.
Seth, we appreciate you giving us the time. Appreciate you giving us a little bit of rundown of how the last couple of months have went, what you're looking forward to about the team, and giving us a little bit of background of over the weekend. Appreciate it as always. Enjoy the season, enjoy the ring ceremony, and get ready for a new start. Quest for three-peat starts now. Appreciate it, Seth.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.